So welcome Aditya.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಸಾರಿ, ಇವತ್ತು ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಮರ್ತೋಯ್ತು.
Pulagadri ಅಂತ ನಿನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ನಿಂದು? I didn't know what your surname. Pulagadri.
ನಮ್ಮ ಕುಲದೇವತೆಯ
Pulagadri
ಹೆಸರು.
ಅಂತನಾ? Okay. ಸರಿ. ಸರಿ, 10th chapter. We are just skipping the 9th chapter. We'll come back to it on Monday or some other day. We'll start with the 10th chapter in Reality at Dawn. My vision. ವೆಂಕಟಾದ್ರಿ ಅವರು ಚಕ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬಳೆ ತಿಂತಾನೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ಗೆ. ಇವರು ಚಕ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬಳೆ ತಿಂತಾನೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಆದಿತ್ಯ.
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಚಕ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಡಲ್ಲ, ಮಾವಿನ ಹಣ್ಣು.
ಏನು?
ಮಾವಿನ ಹಣ್ಣು.
ಮಾವಿನ ಹಣ್ಣ? ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ, ಸರಿ ಸರಿ, ಶುರು ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಮೈ ವಿಷನ್. The world these days is passing through a critical stage. The political situation is growing extremely intricate day by day. The economic condition has become very depressing. Moral, religious, and social degradation has almost reached its final limit. An atmosphere of rivalry, unrest, and insecurity prevails everywhere. Every nation looks with jealous eyes upon her neighbor and utilizes all resources in finding out means of exploiting it. The statesmen of the world are not quite ignorant of these facts. They are trying every means to reach a satisfactory solution of the various problems confronting the world. But the efforts of all the organizations set up for this purpose do not appear to bring forth encouraging results on the whole. The problem of world peace, so prominent in the minds of the greatest politicians and statesmen, is a mere illusion or mirage. So world peace is not possible without individual peace. ಇದನ್ನು ಅನ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. So that is what we do in our system. We work on one heart at a time, get that heart into peace, and when more and more hearts become peaceful, the world will automatically develop an egregore to become peaceful. That is what happens. The state of affairs in India does not hold out any bright prospect. Dissensions and party feeling are prevalent everywhere in the country. Self-interest is predominant. Moral principles are neglected. The problem of bread and butter is acute. But in spite of all this, some of us think that the country is progressing. The sign of progress they take to be gradual drifting of the country towards Western type of civilization, which is based on pure materialism. In online markundri. So what we take as development is our drifting towards the Western civilization values, which is based on pure materialism. But now the age of materialism must come to an end. The old order must change, yielding place to new. The present structure of the world civilization based upon electricity and atomic energy shall not remain in existence for long. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡ್ರಿ. It will not remain in existence for long. It is destined to fall soon. The whole atmosphere is so much charged with the poisonous effects of absolute materialism that it is almost beyond human control to clear it. The time has almost matured for a change which is imminent and inevitable, and for which the godly energy in human form is already at work. So that is Babuji, who is doing this work of changing, as referred to in my book, Efficacy of Raj Yoga. It may not at present seem convincing to some of us, but it is a fact beyond doubt. The world shall know of him and his work in this respect after some time, when events have sufficiently come to light. Godly work is always accomplished through the agency of some human being of high caliber and not directly. So all godly work require a human medium. It is for us to make ourselves that kind of a medium. Okay, godly work cannot occur directly. So in other words, suppose we align with the center. Okay, after aligning with the center, we have our mind, which is the medium for the godly work, and we are now having the powers of the center. Now who is more powerful? The one who has the capability of having the powers and using the powers, or the one who has the powers but has no capacity to use the powers? Who is more powerful, you tell me? ಇದೇನು ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ?
Who's not using it?
ಅಲ್ಲ, one who has the power but does not have the capacity to use the power. One has the powers but has the capacity to use the power. Who's more powerful?
Second one.
Second one, obviously. And humans are that. So that's why ನಾನು ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಸಂಕಲ್ಪ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ, when people say that I don't want to do a particular thing, then you are making that sankalpa, not God, not even nature, not even master. In other words, when we make a sankalpa that I will not do this, it is just that all the three sankalpas of nature, God, and master is overridden by our sankalpa, which is so strong. And we don't realize how strong our sankalpa is. So our sankalpa is very, very strong. And what you are made aware of and made or allowed to use is this sankalpa shakti in the right direction when you become a perceptor. That's all that happens. You are made aware of the power of your sankalpa shakti and you are made aware of how to use it in the right direction. Got the point? That is what perceptorship is about. Which is why I keep saying that an abhyasi who is serious about their progress should apply for preceptor training. Because you will get control over the sankalpa shakti and you will also gain an ability to use the sankalpa shakti appropriately. And you will realize the value of your sankalpa shakti. Okay? So your sister is also sitting next to you, Aditya, and giving one more mango.
Hi, uncle.
I only
just
wish
had to
ಆ
check
ಥರ ಸೇವೆ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ
something.
ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಇವಳು. ಯಾವ್ದೋ ಇಮೇಲ್ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾಳೆ, ಚೆಕ್
No,
ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
good to see you. I have heard that you organized some meditation session in Oxford. So I
Oh,
hope that you can continue with those kinds of activities. UK requires it a lot.
yeah.
And in UK, not many people emphasize about awareness and sensitivity. They do not emphasize on the experiences of meditation, and I think you need to change that. You have the capacity to change it.
Thank you, uncle.
Lot of people in UK, from what I know, they all do just mechanical practice of meditation without going into the life of meditation.
Oh,
And we
in the
would
first
encourage-
session,
Sorry?
in the first session of our satsang ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಲ್ಲ ಆಕ್ಸ್ಫರ್ಡ್ ಹತ್ರ,
They were like talking about like
ಪಾರ್ಥಸಾರಥಿ
trees.
ರಾಜಗೋಪಾಲಾಚಾರಿ, the great, he called it the great environmental conservationist.
They were talking
Environmental
about
conservationist. See, you can talk about Chariji or Babuji, Lalaji in whatever terms, but ultimately sow the seed of divinity in their heart. That's okay. You can talk in any way.
I'll
You can
just
talk about Babuji as the greatest psychologist. You can talk about Lalaji as the greatest inventionist. And you can talk about Chariji as the greatest environmentalist. It's okay. But as long as you sow the seed of divinity or spirituality in the hearts, we are okay with anything. Okay? But you have grown though. You have become a bit taller and bigger
this is a
compared to what I saw you.
camera angle ಇಂದ ಹಂಗ್ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
ಅಷ್ಟೇನಾ? ಬರೀ camera effect ಅಂತೀಯಾ?
ಇಲ್ಲ
But you are very
ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು.
sensitive. You remember we had spoken few times. You are very sensitive. So I want you to keep that sensitivity going. Okay? Don't fall prey for mechanical practice of meditation without life.
Yeah.
Okay?
There
Whatever
is
we
a lot.
whatever we discuss in this youth group, there are a lot of points that will be useful for your practice, even though you are in UK. So start listening to some of these discussions that we have here in this group. It will be handy for you. Okay, I know that you are not part of this group, but there is no harm in listening to it.
YouTube ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ.
YouTube ಅಲ್ಲಿ, yeah. Oh.
Okay, he'll share that. Aditya will share that. You can utilize it when you are there in UK. Okay, so good to see you and good luck. I know that you are going to stay for one more week. So after that, you
Yeah.
might be traveling. Not to worry. Hope to see you soon. Okay,
Thank you,
Bye-bye
uncle.
then.
Sorry for disturbing.
bye then. Nice to see you. Bye. The reason is that God does not possess mind, which is only an instrument to bring things into action. Man possesses mind, which can be utilized for the purpose, but only when he has lost his feelings of individuality in toto. What remains in him after that he has achieved complete negation of self is not the human mind, but only the godly mind in a pure and absolute state. Now, don't confuse. In the previous sentence, he said God has no mind. Now he is saying that human mind gets converted into godly mind. Now, if God has no mind, how does it get converted into godly mind? That's a question that you need to ponder on. Okay? Now, nature works through the godly mind, although apparently it exists within the frame of a human being. So the human mind, individual mind, has got converted into a godly mind, and nature takes the help of that godly mind. Okay? God versus godly.
Right question.
Yes.
Nature and God are equated here.
Sorry?
Nature and God are equated here, or nature is the medium by which God.
Nature is separate, God is separate.
So then why is nature acting through it?
These are all things that you need to ponder on. It appears as if they are using it interchangeably, correct? But they are two separate things. So I'm giving you the answer, but in order to get clarity, you need to kind of go through some other parts of the book later on. Then you will get clarity. Okay? So God is separate, godly mind is separate, nature is separate. Human being is one who starts from the Pindu Pradesh, gradually goes and gains control over or aligns with the godly mind, establishes connection with the God, and then can influence the nature. This is the sequence. Okay? I present before you a glimpse of the world that is to be, as I see in my vision. Believe it or not, but that is my reading of nature in the clairvoyant state. Signs are evident that the destruction of the undesirable elements in the world has already commenced. Such examples have occurred many a time before during the period of the existence of this world. Rama's war against Ravana, Naho's flood, the battle of Mahabharata are some of the many instances. Such destruction is accompanied through various means. It may be through war or internal feud, through heavenly calamities such as volcanic upheaval, or through some similar causes. The time is now ripe for its final phase, and the world is rushing towards it with headlong speed. The action may come into full swing by the close of the present century, but some of the events enumerated below may take a longer time to come into effect. So, what is going to happen? That's what he writes now, going forward. The heat of the sun has been gradually diminishing for some time past, and it may be a baffling problem for the scientists to tackle it after some time. Life on the surface of the earth might quite become impossible. So we are all surviving because the heat of the sun is in a relatively constant pace coming to earth. If the heat of the sun actually decreases to such an extent that the life becomes impossible here, then most of the life will get wiped off from earth. Owing to the insufficient heat in the sun, no solution of it is within their mental approach in spite of all the material powers at their command. I may assure them that it will not at present diminish to that extent. The present decrease in the sun's heat is only meant to expedite nature's process of change, and the personality deputed for that work is utilizing it for that purpose. So it's not going to reach that stage where all the life will be wiped off. Some amount of decrease in the heat is necessary for the next kind of change that is being brought about. You can say it's like a preparation of the field where the sun's heat is decreased to some extent. It is unfailing. It is an unfailing sign of the imminent upheaval in the entire structure of the world, and after it, the sun will regain its full glow. The same sign will appear again at the time of Mahapralaya, complete dissolution, but it is a far off thing. I do not like to dwell upon it here. Many people think that Pralaya is coming. No Mahapralaya will come, not to worry. We are only in 5,500 after Mahabharata. The next Mahapralaya is after 3,59,000 years. So don't worry. Got the point? Kali Yuga has 3,64,000 years. Of that, we have finished 5,500 years from the time Krishna left his body. So we have 3,58,500 years. Till then, no Mahapralaya will come. So don't go by all this bombarding that you see in the television. So this time Pralaya is coming, that time Pralaya is coming, nothing is going to happen. Okay. I do not like to dwell upon it here. One thing I may disclose in this connection for the interest of the reader, at the time of Mahapralaya, the pole star or the Dhruva Nakshatra will deviate a few degrees from its position and will grow a bit hotter. A powerful energy in the form of a gas will begin to gush out from it and it will ultimately destroy the world and everything else in existence. The action of destruction will start from the North Pole. This is also something which is quoted in some of the other spiritual books about what happens at the time of Mahapralaya. There is one beautiful story of Kaka Busundi in Yoga Vasishta. Aditya, if you want to look at the story of Kaka Busundi. And Kaka Busundi is immortal. So it has seen these cycles many a times. And Kakabushundi describes what exactly happens at the time of creation, what happens to it, and what then happens to Earth and its creation, and then how does it come back to life when the next cycle comes. Okay, so if you are interested in reading that cycle, the cycle of creation and destruction, read the story of Kakabushundi in Yoga Vasishtha. Okay. In consequence to the present upheaval, drastic changes will come into effect and the new structure of the world will be quite different from the one that we see today. Idon books the other page, the books a question to one. The fate of Great Britain will be sad. A part of it, the southern portion, will sink into the sea. A volcanic energy in the latent state is at work in the heart of London, and in course of time it will burst forth in the form of a volcanic eruption. So ನಮ್ಮ ಲಂಡನ್ ಮುಳುಗ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಸೀನಲ್ಲಿ.
ಬ್ರದರ್ ನಾನು PhD ಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು.
ಗೊತ್ತು, ನಾನು ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ. ನಾನು UK ನಲ್ಲಿ 10 ವರ್ಷ ಇದ್ದೆ, ಲಂಡನ್ ಮಠ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಆಯ್ತು, ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಫೈನ್. ನಾ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿದ್ನೋ ನಾನು ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಮಠ ಆಗಿದ್ದೆ.
ಸರ್ ಬ್ರದರ್ ಇದು ಮಹಾಪ್ರಳಯದ ಕಥೆ ತಾನೆ, ಇನ್ನೇನು ಆಗೋ ಕಥೆ ಅಲ್ಲ.
ಮಹಾಪ್ರಳಯದಲ್ಲ, ಮಹಾಪ್ರಳಯಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಆಗೋದು ಇದೆಲ್ಲ. ಮಹಾಪ್ರಳಯ ಅಲ್ಲ ಇದು, ಮಹಾಪ್ರಳಯದ ಮುಂಚೆನೇ ಆಗೋದು ಇವೆಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಮುಂಚೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ನಾಟ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಟೈಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಹಾಪ್ರಳಯ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಎನಿವೆ ನಾವು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಬಂದ್ವಿ, ಕೇದಾರ್ನಾಥ್ಗೆ ಅಕ್ಟೋಬರ್ ನವೆಂಬರ್ ಹೋಗಿ ಬಂದ್ವಿ 2012. 2013 ಜೂನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಫ್ಲಡ್ಸ್ ಇರೋ ಬರದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಿತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೊಂಟೋಯ್ತು ಕೇದಾರ್ನಾಥ್. ಸರಿನಾ? ಮೊನ್ನೆ ಥಾಯ್ಲೆಂಡ್ ಹೋಗಿ ಬಂದ್ರಿ, ಇಡೀ ಭೂಮಿನೇ ಅಲ್ಲಾಡೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಥಾಯ್ಲೆಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಅರ್ಥಕ್ವೇಕ್ ಆಗೋದು. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ನಾವು ಲಂಡನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ 10 ವರ್ಷ ಇದ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ನೋ ವಂಡರ್ ಬಾಬುಜಿ ಇಸ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ವಾಲ್ಕನಿಕ್ ಎರಪ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಸರಿ, the Gulf Stream will change its course and the country will become extremely cold. ಯಾವುದು? ನಮ್ಮ UK. Whatever country is remaining ಅಲ್ಲ, it will become extremely cold. The fate of Europe too is very similar. Europe ಈಗಲೇ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, Trump has been sent to sink Europe and that is only job. He will make sure that before he goes, he sinks Europe and goes. That is what he is duty bound to do. ಆಯ್ತಾ? Smaller countries will lose their existence. The future of Russia is also in darkness. She cannot survive in the current structure, in the current way that she is. The very weapon of Russia will serve as a pistol on her own head. The very weapon of Russia, the nuclear warheads, that will turn as a pistol on her own head. Communism shall have its grave in its own homeland. It's already seen that. Communism is gone from Russia. The USSR are collapsed, no? So communism is gone. As for America, she is in imminent danger of losing her wealth, and in course of time, she may almost be reduced to paupery. And anyway, they are on course to that. 35 trillion, and every year, number of trillions of debt is growing. So they are on the verge of paupery and bankruptcy. Her power and greatness too will sink along with it. And what Trump is doing is a very important sign that they are in desperation. All the tariffs and other things that they have actually slapped on all the countries, it is a show of desperation that their boat is sinking. Okay? ದೀಪ ಆರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಜ್ವಲಿಸುತ್ತೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ದೀಪ ಆರೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಅಮೆರಿಕ ತುಂಬಾ ಪ್ರಜ್ವಲಿಸುವಂತ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. ಸರಿನಾ? So it will gradually decrease in terms of order of importance. Okay? India will regain her pristine glory and she will be raised to prominence under her own government. Her, I don't know what is this meaning, ಯಾರನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕ್ರಪ್ಪ ಇದನ್ನ. Suzerainty, suzerainty.
Poverty, power.
Poverty,
control her territorial extent.
So her suzerainty will extend far and wide, and the world will look up to her for as a beacon light. But she too will have her share in the world of evil. The germs of rebellion are developing in the country. A part of the country, the eastern portion of the Bengal, will sink into the sea. Anyway, half of Bangladesh will disappear into the sea by the turn of this century. Half of Bangladesh will not be there. It's quite possible that some parts of India also might sink. A part of the country, the eastern portion of Bengal, will sink into the sea. Volcanic energy is also active and may seriously affect some parts of the country, especially the state of Bihar. The Deccan Plateau may, in the remote future, turn into an island. In the remote future, not immediately, not to worry. So it will turn into an island. There will be enormous bloodshed all over the world, and the loss of life through various causes will be so great that the world population will be considerably reduced. But that is projected anyway. By the turn of the century, there will be a great reduction. At least by 1/3, the world population will decrease. So from around 800, 850 crores, we'll come back to around 550 crores. At least by the turn of the century, or probably more faster before that. A new structure of the coming world will stand on bones and ashes. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. A type of a civilization based on spirituality will spring forth in India, and it will in due course become the world civilization. No country or nation can survive without spirituality as its base, and every nation much sooner or later adopt the same course if it wants to maintain her existence. So this is what Babuji, my vision ಅಂತ ಏನು ಬಂದಿರಲ್ಲ, this is his plan. This is what he plans to do. If you read 44 Wisdom, I can give you 2-3 examples. Before Gandhiji dies, Gandhiji is killed on the 30th of January. 13th of January, Vivekananda declares Gandhi will be shot dead, which is 17 days before. And Lal Babuji has documented that. This is what Vivekananda said. So it's all planned. Why was Gandhi removed from the scene? Because he was standing in the way of the nature. Nature had some plan, and Gandhiji was standing in its way. So nature had to remove him forcibly. Okay. Second thing, around 1944-45, they declared that the Nizam state of Hyderabad is going to collapse. The Nizam hood is going to collapse. 4 years down the line, in 1948, that's exactly what happened. So in other words, whatever they speak about, both in this book and the 44 Whispers, they will come to pass sooner or later. But it's just that some of the things might come early, some of the things might come a bit later, but they will come into reality on earth. Okay? ಸರಿ, ಏನು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳೋದಿತ್ತು ಕೇಳಪ್ಪ ಗೋಪಾಲ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣ.
So thank you. In the previous page, it was mentioned the heat of sun has been gradually diminishing for some time past. But we are actually seeing that the temperatures have risen, right, of lately. I just wanted to understand how one thing.
The heat of the sun, which is coming out from the sun, not the heat of the sun, which we are actually contributing to the rise in the temperature here. Here on Earth, we are contributing to the rise in the temperature by climate change that we are doing. This is not what Babuji is talking about. Babuji is talking about what the heat that is actually coming out from the sun towards Earth. That is the heat that is talking about. That we cannot change from here. That will happen by nature's course only, by the powers of nature. So I hope you don't get confused between these two. The heat is increasing at this level on Earth because of the climate change that we are doing. It has nothing to do with the sun. The sun's heat which is coming out towards the Earth, that is what is actually changing. That is what he is talking about. Okay?
But of lately,
now
also there has been.
I would want you to go and read about the sun's heat. What are the scientists saying about it? Rather than speculating, let us go by the readings. What is there? Alva? Let us read about it. Okay? In other words, Babuji is indicating that in order to cause a major upheaval on Earth, we need to decrease the heat of the sun as a preliminary field preparation. That is what he is hinting about. That's all it is. And then once the change is effected here, the heat will gradually assume its natural course or full glow. So it's a preparatory condition for the change which is being brought about. That's all it is. Okay, just look at it that way. And let us look at what the science says. Because we have now sent a probe to sun only. Remember, last year or before last year, the probe went to the sun, the closest to the sun, and it did not melt. So it gave a lot of information about what is happening on the sun's surface. So just read about it. Okay? Aditya, go ahead. Nothing? Anything?
So, is this an indication that, like, because other countries have much grosser, like you said in one day, you said like India is much better than other countries. So is it that's why it's gonna happen like this, or it's planned in that way,
I
or
did not
it's
not
so
happened. This means
like you told, like, America and other countries will fallen, and then India will regain its existence. So is it because of the grossness that the country has, or it's
correct grossness. See, if every country has to become spiritual, it has to move towards subtlety.
yes?
So any country which moves towards grossness is sure to have a downfall. That's all it is.
Correct.
So
Okay.
when we want to make a country spiritual, we have to take the country as a whole, the population and the atmosphere as a whole, towards subtlety. So if the country is progressing in the opposite direction, they are sure to fall. That's all it is.
Okay.
Okay. So when he says that the world is going to stand on spirituality, on the basis of spirituality, the next civilization is going to be built. All that we are going to say is we are going to have another civilization which is going to be far more subtler, far more insightful in their existence here on earth
Yeah.
than what we see, where we see crap materialism, gross materialism in every sphere. That is going to go away. And that
This
is what
this
is going to be removed. That's all.
this
Okay.
reminds me of the plot of the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov.
Oh, I have not seen that.
Quite
It is
interesting.
the thing.
You
Okay.
have this galactic empire that collapses, and there are two foundations. One based on the ability to mentalic energies, so to be able to read and control people's minds through subtlety, and the other one that is built on technological prowess on two opposite sides of the galaxy.
ಓಕೆ ಸೊ ಯಾರಿಗಾನ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು ಆದಿತ್ಯ ಈ ಥರದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿರ್ತಾನೆ.
Quite interesting. It's my favorite scene.
So it's an interesting thing, but how it evolves as we progress through the nature, that is what is going to give us a better picture. Alva? See, many of these things is not something visible in one lifespan. These are things that need to be looked through multiple lifespan, thousands of years, lakhs of years. Then you will get a clear picture regarding how, in which direction we are going to evolve, which is going to be more beneficial for humanity as a whole, right? So
Also, brother, I think the experiments what they do, right, that also takes a major role, I guess. Is
what experiments?
like so they keep experimenting, right, the scientists, on the nature. So so maybe that is also a part of it, I believe.
Anything we do which disrupts the balance in nature can have a detrimental effect on our existence here on earth. And unfortunately, by knowingly, unknowingly, we are doing it all the time. And that
Yes,
creates a lot of challenges for us.
because if nature doesn't accept it, so definitely it will have an impact, because it's against the nature, right?
Exactly. And I keep telling you that whenever we do anything against nature, we form samskaras.
Correct. Yeah.
So if nature does something against nature, it is also going to form collective samskara. So don't think the samskara is only at an individual level. It can be at a collective level also. Okay. So that is
Yes.
what people have accumulated. Europe, UK, and US, Australia, these countries, Western countries, have accumulated those collective samskaras. And that is where they will face that challenge. Okay. Trying to overcome that samskaras.
Correct.
Especially the kind of, oh, you are in full flow, Varun. Go ahead.
No, I didn't.
Go ahead. Go ahead. But you are trying to say something.
No, nothing.
You said something, no?
No, I didn't.
So when there is gross materialism across the whole, what do you say, population, then the country as a whole develops grossness. And then nature has to do some drastic surgery to bring down the grossness at a faster pace across the country. And it's a lot more challenging when we don't have people who can actually clean the atmosphere in the country. So if you have people in the country who can actually work on the country and clean the atmosphere, to that extent the country is protected. But if you don't have people who can work on the country, then they are not protected from that perspective also. So then it's even more challenging. Okay. Okay, now let's go to the last chapter of efficacy of Raja Yoga, the conclusion. I have discussed sufficiently as far as my anubhava or reading of nature allowed me. I may now add a few lines for the seeker to reveal to them the secret of success. Meditation is the foundation of spirituality. Please underline that. Dash is the foundation of spirituality. Meditation. Or you can say meditation is the foundation, or dash is the dash of dash. Or they can say dash is the foundation of dash. So it can come off in any way. You need to keep that in mind. Dash, dash, dash. And they'll still expect you to write answer for that. And all that will happen is after the examination is over, the candidates will start dashing against the examiners. If you meditate, having your real goal before you, you are sure to arrive at the destination. There are ways and ways converging towards the real goal, and they are discussed in various scriptures sufficiently. There are external factors too helping us to the destination of properly guided. The Eastern thinkers have taken special regard to the question of food. It should be cooked neatly and cleanly in a proper manner. This is the hygienic aspect. But if it is sattvic and is cooked in constant remembrance of God, its effect will be surprising. And
So
if
sorry,
it is
brother. Realization.
sorry,
Are we reading realization?
no, we are jumping a few chapters, going to the last chapter conclusion. I wanted to utilize the time appropriately today so that we can finish 2 chapters. We'll
ಇದು
come
my
back
vision
to this
ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ
on
ಬರುತ್ತಾ?
Monday. Sorry,
ಇದು ಮೈ ವಿಷನ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಬರುತ್ತಾ?
ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ.
ಇದು ಮೈ ವಿಷನ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಬರುತ್ತಾ?
ಇದು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಫಿಕಸಿ ಆಫ್ ರಾಜಯೋಗ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್.
Efficacy of
ಓಕೆ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು,
ಎಫಿಕಸಿ
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್
ಆಫ್
ಯು.
ರಾಜಯೋಗ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್. If it is sattvic food and is cooked in constant remembrance of God, its effect will be surprising. And if it is taken meditating all the while on God, it will cure all kinds of spiritual diseases and remove things which hinder our progress. Is artha aita? So if you want to remove illnesses from the body of any abhyasi, just tell them that whatever they get food, they should heat it in constant remembrance of God. That will be highly beneficial for their health, both spiritual health, mental health, and physical health, all the healths. And in Brahmins, we do this. You know, the aposhane, that aposhane is
Pitravati.
meant for that. Okay? You think of the Brahman, give a small portion to the Brahman, and then you take the rest of it as prasad from Brahman. This is what you do as aposhane. Now we have forgotten the reason why we do it. We just do it very mechanically. But you don't need to only do in that way only. You can do it just by having that sankalpa that you are eating in the remembrance of God. That's enough. That will still work. Okay?
That's why it's also important as to who prepares the food, right?
Exactly. Correct. And that's why it is not very good for you to eat outside. So if the food is prepared by people very gross in the hotels and other places, eateries, it will have a very gross effect on you when you eat it. So you will actually spend more food to eat gross food and become more grosser. And that's not good. Okay? It's always better to have homemade food. Even the holige should be homemade.
not from the organ.
Not from the hebbars of the holige mani. I have not to say much about it as it is already been dealt with sufficiently in our books. But neglecting together really essential hygienic and spiritual basis of food, we must not be whimsical thinking that it is defiled if merely touched by another person of a particular sect, even though he may be innocent, pious and spiritually elevated. ಇದಾಯ್ತಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಯಾಸ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಆಗಿದ್ದು. ಶೂದ್ರರೆಲ್ಲ ಊಟ ಟಚ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಪವಿತ್ರ ಆಗೋತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ರು ಬ್ರಾಹ್ಮಣರು. ಆಯ್ತಾ? Hindus have experienced sufficiently and ought now to realize that the present day policy of food is neither social nor spiritual. In support of my views, I quote below the words of Swami Vivekananda, who is an authority on spiritual subjects. The extravagant, meaningless fanaticism which has driven religion entirely to kitchen has been noticed in many of the sects without any hope of noble truth of their religion ever coming out to the sunlight of spirituality is a peculiar sort of pure and simple materialism. It is neither gnana nor karma nor bhakti. It is a special kind of lunacy. And those who pin their souls to it are more likely to go to lunatic asylum than to Brahmaloka. Vivekananda is very brute.
They are more likely to go to where, sorry?
To a mental hospital than to Brahmaloka. In other words, they are more likely to come under Dr. Raghu than to go to Dr. Brahma. Another external thing necessary for the beginner is that he should practice restraint in thoughts, words, and deeds so as not to injure the feelings and prick the heart of the others. So, this is very important. This is also another simple practice that you can do. It becomes easier and easier as we grow higher. But at a lower level, we might probably find it a bit harder. But if we can practice this will also be very helpful. Not to be practice restraint in word, thought, and deed. If he does not restrain himself, he spoils his own heart. The reaction affects him in an unnoticed way. The next thing for him to cultivate is that he should always look to the brighter side of the picture and should not at any time submit himself to the feeling that he cannot attain the goal. ಇದು ನಾ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತೀನಲ್ಲ ಸಂಕಲ್ಪ ಶಕ್ತಿ, never make a sankalpa that I cannot attain the goal. That is the wrong use of the sankalpa shakti. Never think negatively. Never think in any despondent way. Everything that happens to you in your life is for your good. Be having that firm conviction. Nothing will ever happen to you which is going to be bad in your spiritual journey. Because God is looking after you, Master is also looking after you, nature is also looking after you. So why should you worry about it? Okay? Iron will is essential for the purpose and he should not be led to the feelings of despondency, which is a great obstacle on the path. The cause of despondency in the spiritual field seems to be that people generally think it is to be most difficult and intricate thing. They think that reaching the goal is very difficult and intricate. That's why they feel despondent. What we have to gain is really a very simple thing within the easy reach of everyone. So all of us should be able to reach the reality. We should not have any doubt in that. Serena. The difficult methods so far applied for attaining this simple thing have really made it complicated and intricate. An example will make the proposition clear. Suppose a needle falls on the ground and you might want to pick it up. It will be very easy to do so with the help of your fingers. But however, a crane or some other complicated machinery is used to picking up the needle, it may be difficult to do so, or it may be quite impossible for you to do so. Exactly the same thing happens when you think of difficult and complicated methods for attaining reality, which is very simple. People are really trying to pick up a needle with the help of a crane in the spiritual field. It is merely a misconception which, if wiped off, will remove despondency altogether. So the reason why we feel despondency is that we feel that the goal is very difficult. If you remove that idea that the goal is difficult and it is very simple, then automatically the despondency will go off permanently. The process we start with and which we lay stress upon is meditation upon the heart under the guidance of the force of one's master who has attained perfection and has within him the capacity of transmission. Such a master keeps away things that bar our spiritual progress. Now, this next line is very important. Please underline that. Spiritual waves from the master continue to flow into our hearts, making us calmer and calmer by the day. This is exactly what happens after you have taken the 3 sittings. The initial 3 sittings is done for this purpose only. So you will get to know about this when you go to Khana, when they give you training how to give sittings. So I'm just highlighting some point. Okay, so that line you understand. Underline it and keep that in mind. Spiritual waves from the master continue to flow into our heart, making us calmer and calmer by the day. If we are deep rooted in meditation, we connect our link with an innermost thing desired. What is the innermost thing desired for any soul? It is the Supreme Soul. So when the energy starts coming to our heart more and more, we start feeling inclined more and more towards that desire, which is the big desire. Devotion, of course, increases the capacity and smoothens the way. If we make our heart the target of master's force, we begin to expand inside with the result that in the long run, we find ourselves stretching throughout the body region. Now, when you say we begin to expand, it's not like our physical bodies begin to expand. No, our consciousness expands. Now, when we reach the center, we are in the highest level of expansion of the consciousness infinitely. Wherever the godly empire is, we are there. That is the extent to which our consciousness expands. How does it occur? When we make our heart the target of masterly force, we begin to expand. So when you take sittings, you expand. Whether you actually recognize it or not, in every sitting, every satsang, you expand inside. Every time a samskara is removed, you expand in the consciousness. Please keep that in mind. That's also one of the reasons why you should take regular sittings. This sensitivity about expansion and feeling that expansion will come in due course of time. You might not initially feel it, not to worry about it. But eventually you will know that there is a huge degree of expansion. Okay? I am speaking about these who have so fixed themselves in the heart of the central region. In the heart of the central region means in the center. What such a man can do by his will force, others cannot do by the force of arms. The materialistic view may not accept it because the world is shorter before its advocates. People may think that it is a dog barking subject as they have not developed this sort of vision. Such a personality as described previously is neither a friend nor a foe of anybody. Now, what is the condition of a person who has established himself in the heart of the creation or the central region or the center? That person is in perfect state, in perfect calmness, perfect balance, and perfect moderation. These are the three qualities that the person will have. Perfect balance, perfect moderation, and perfect calmness. Gopal Krishna, just make a note of it. Three things. Once a person becomes established, don't write in the book, Varun, because if you write in the book, we are not going to allow this book to be brought to the examination hall. You can underline, but you are not supposed to write anything in the book.
What were the 3 points? Perfect calmness, perfect
balance, and perfect moderation. That's why I asked you to write. I know that you are immersed in your own world, and I know that you are in the other world. Clear? He is all along balanced in his ways, and even if never loses equilibrium. If perchance he does so even for a moment, atmosphere disorder and gloominess will be the result. If it continues for some time, the shadowy hearts of the people will collapse. Activities at this stage, that is when we are in the center, are all gone and actions become automatic. But if activities remain as they are, the solution of the life has not yet been arrived at. So when we are in the central region, when we are near the center, all our activities are automatic according to God's wishes, according to God's will. Okay? During our march to freedom, we come across various chakras having different forms and colors. They are all in the region of the heart. Above it is the condition different from what you have already experienced. Chakras are all gone. The structure falls off as soon as you proceed onwards. By meditation under the guidance of a capable master, the things become easily accessible. Iron will, constant impatience, and restlessness for gaining the object brings easy success. So, three things: iron will, constant impatience, and restlessness. Lord Krishna had originally introduced bhakti in the Raja Yoga in a way that yogis know, because he knew that the time was at hand when life would be uncertain. So before Krishna came into existence, Raja Yoga was being practiced in a different way. Krishna introduced the aspect of bhakti into Raja Yoga. Okay? So that he made Raja Yoga even more robust than what it was before. Like Lalaji and Babuji have changed Raja Yoga into Sahaj Marg. So what is Sahaj Marg? Sahaj Marg is nothing but modified system of Raja Yoga. So they have modified. Krishna also modified during his times by introducing or emphasizing the importance of bhakti in Raja Yoga. Okay? Now, there is a vast difference between theory and practice. If I tell you about the same subject all day and night, or it will not be beneficial to you at all, except that your mental taste may develop, and that too momentarily. Come with faith and confidence in the spiritual field and be prepared for the practice, throwing off self-conceited ideas. I do not want you to dwell in an imagination that you repeatedly read the scriptures and you will become the master of spirituality. By doing so, this is for Aditya. If you read the scriptures repeatedly, you become a master of scriptures, but not practical experience. If by doing so you become a philosopher or a learned man, but you cannot become a yogi without practice with love and devotion.
Actually, there's a line in the Gita which is
Sorry?
just there's a line in the Gita there's a verse in the Gita in chapter 2. He says, people who fall in love with the words of the Vedas, and the actual phrasing is pushpitam vacham, flowery words of the Veda. They say there is nothing else apart from that, and they do not see reality for what it is.
Correct.
Which is also funny because people who fall in love with the Bhagavad Gita are doing the same thing.
All the scriptures, they do the same thing. See, they feel it's like this. Understanding how the mango tastes by listening to the explanation of others or reading the books is one thing. Actually eating the mango and getting the taste of the feeling of the taste of the mango is another thing. So what is more important is that you eat the mango. Not go on worrying about what is the description of the taste of the mango given by other people who have eaten it. Okay. So it's better to eat the mango, and that is why Aditya came ready with after having eaten the mango. Right? It is very difficult to put a practical thing into words, just as you cannot describe the taste of wheat, although you have eaten it many a times. May the day dawn upon when people will stand to realize the accuracy of what has been said above. So that is the last chapter in Efficacy of Raja Yoga. Okay. So we shall probably end here. It's like 7:59, just on dot. For the first time, I'm finishing on dot, and that's something to be applauded.